future, in part, of the Democratic Party. There is, we believe, a new chairman of the DNC. Let's get to Ryan Nobles, Tom Perez being the new chairman. Ryan, tell us what happened here.
Yeah, this was a pretty dramatic day here in Atlanta, and on the second ballot, Tom Perez comes in with a victory. Perez collected 235 votes on that second ballot to Keith Ellison's 200, but it was on that first ballot, Brianna, where Tom Perez only collected 213 and a half votes, falling short of the 214 and a half vote threshold needed to win the election. But on the second ballot, Perez was able to bring together the coalition necessary to win. You know, what's interesting, though, is how this is playing out in the room, and this is something we were going to keep an eye on. There were many Keith Ellison supporters that represent that progressive wing of the party, the Bernie Sanders wing, if you will, and after it was announced that Perez had won, they started yelling in the back of the room, no big money, party for the people, and they continued to do it even while Donna Brazile was trying to calm the crowd down and call for unity. So that's going to be the next big question for this Democratic Party. Can they unite behind Tom Perez and form some sort of coalition that can be a true alternative to Donald Trump and the Donald Trump agenda? This is, of course, what Democrats across the country are hoping for. There's obviously a lot of enthusiasm, and it looks like Tom Perez is getting ready to accept his party's nomination as the next Democratic committee chairman. But I'll send it back to you.
We'll keep an eye on that as he begins to speak. We'll take it live. But just as you said, though, Ryan, you can't even think of this just in terms of the names of two guys running, Tom Perez and Keith Ellison. As you said, Tom Perez, this is a guy with a labor background, a Hillary Clinton supporter, and someone who, you know, this may be not what Republicans wanted to hear. And actually, you know what? Sorry, Ryan, stand by. We're going to listen to Tom Perez speaking there in Atlanta. He has just become the chairman of the Democratic National Committee.
I would like to begin by making a motion. It's a motion that I have discussed with a good friend, and his name is Keith Ellison. And the motion I would like to make to the body is a motion suspending the rules, if I may, to appoint Keith Ellison deputy chair of the Democratic National Committee. I'm not sure. Tell me the phrase I'm supposed to utter. That was fine. Okay. I'm not. Did I hear a second? All for? Opposed? Hey. The silence is deafening. The motion passes. Congressman, the floor is yours. Allow me to congratulate our chair, on successfully passing his first motion. Good job. Right. But I just want to say to you that I'm very, very proud of Chairman Perez. In this race, he conducted himself with tremendous class, grace. I want to say that everybody you see in front of you, I tell you, it's so funny. There was a news report that our race was boring because we weren't attacking each other at some point. Y'all remember that? We were all quite proud that we were not forming the circular firing squad. And I just want to say to you that if you came here
supporting me. If you're wearing a Keith t-shirt or any t-shirt, I am asking you to give everything you got to support Chairman Perez. You love this country. You love all the people in it. You care about each and every one of them, urban, rural, suburban, all colors, all cultures, all faiths, everybody. And they are in need of your help. And if we waste even a moment going at it over who supported who, we are not going to be standing up for those people. We don't have the luxury, folks, to walk out of this room divided. We don't have that luxury. And I just want to say to you that it is my honor to serve this party under the chairmanship of Tom Perez. And I just want to say to you that I have a list of people to thank that is far too long for me to recite this moment. But I'm going to try a little bit, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank all of you all who worked hard on the campaign, all of you who cooperated and helped and were friends. And I want to thank all of my friends in the labor community. I want to thank Lee Saunders, who's just an awesome brother. I want to thank Randy Weingarten, who's just outrageous. I want to thank Mr. Rich Trumka. I want to thank David Cox of our federal workers. I want to thank Lily Garcia. I want to thank the entire labor community. I want to thank Larry Cohen. I want to thank all of you. And if I have missed you, charge it to my head, not my heart, because I love you and I'm grateful to you. Let me also say that I want to thank my family who came from far reaches to be here with us today. If I could just say quickly, my brothers Brian, Tony, Eric are all here, and I love you guys and thank you all for coming. My sisters Carla, my sister Melissa's here. I want to thank you. And I got a great friend named Kim who's here, and I want to thank her. And I want to thank all of you for being here today. So I'm about to give back the microphone to our chairman. And I just want to tell you that the earnest work that we must do to confront Trump, yes, but even beyond that, to establish a country in which everybody can aspire to a good life. That country, the Democratic Party, we got earnest, sincere work to do. It's going to be under the leadership of Chairman Perez, and all of us are going to help him, and all of you are going to help him. Thank you all very much.
We have been joined by three members of Congress, stalwarts from the House of Representatives, fighters, Barbara Lee, Maxine Waters, Greg Meeks. Anybody else? Thank you so much for joining us on stage. These folks I had the privilege of working with at the Labor Department and the Justice Department before that, and they have been such remarkably successful people. So you know what, folks? I'd like to have you give one more round of applause for an incredible group of folks, and that is the other candidates on this stage. Because you know what, folks? I frankly found myself, when I first got in this race, going to their website because I was learning a lot. Sally and I have had lunch a number of times talking about our shared interest in building 57 state parties that work. Jammu and I have had we had a drink last night at about 11 o'clock talking about our shared interest in making sure that this party works in every zip code. We have
All right, big headlines there out of Atlanta as this competition for who was going to chair the Democratic National Committee. The outcome now clear. It's going to be that man there, Tom Perez, former Labor Secretary. Let's bring in Ryan Nobles. He is there watching all of this. And it was fascinating, Ryan, that Tom Perez got up there to accept this nomination and then very quickly said that he wanted to move for Keith Ellison to be the deputy chair. Keith Ellison saying, quote, "We don't have the luxury to walk out of this room divided." There was a lot of talk going into this about which wing of the Democratic Party is going to really push towards the future. Is it going to be Keith Ellison and the sort of Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren wing, or is it going to be Tom Perez in the more moderate faction that has some connections to labor? He also is a Hillary Clinton supporter, and they're really trying to show they're unified here.
Well, I mean, it's pretty clear, Brianna, that Tom Perez didn't even really give an acceptance speech.
That's
he
right.
immediately turned it over to Keith Ellison for this job of deputy chair, which I don't even believe really exists in the Democratic National Committee. They're going to elect a vice chair later on today, so this is somewhat of a position that was created in a moment in order to tamp down kind of the mood in this room. I mean, up until that point, the Ellison supporters were still making their voices heard in a big way, screaming their disapproval of the election of Perez. But Ellison did a really incredible job of calming down those tensions, making sure that his supporters understood that he was behind Perez, and that a party that was broken apart was not going to be successful in moving forward. At one point, he said that he was asking all of his supporters to get behind Chairman Perez, just like he was going to do. So, Ellison spoke for quite a while here about his goals for the party and where he wants to see the party move forward. So it's clear here that Tom Perez understands the job he has here in front of him. He won today. It was very close, but he's got a lot of work to do to bring together all these different factions. And what's interesting, Brianna, is it's not as if they don't have passion, enthusiasm, and support for their ideals. It just seems to be the fashion in which they're organized. We've seen these women's marches that have took place across the country. Those are largely progressive and Democratic voters. We've seen the reaction in these Republican town halls across the country. The energy is there. It's just now going to be up to leaders like Tom Perez to channel that energy into the type of way that can be a true check on the Trump administration and then lead to electoral victories. They've got races coming up in Virginia and New Jersey this year, and then, of course, the midterms in 2018. There's a lot of work for Democrats to do here over the next few months.
And they need a good candidate for 4 years from now as well. Who's that going to be? All right, Ryan, stay with me. Stand by. We'll be back with you in a moment. Let's listen to Tom Perez as he addresses the crowd.
That's real viewpoint diversity for you New Yorkers. And so that's why they could come together, and so we can come together. I need to tell you folks at the outset, I know that I have more questions than answers. I told you before this morning that Team Tom means team. And as a team, we will work together. I will be calling you with regularity. And my first question will be, what should we be doing? And I will not simply be calling the voting members of the DNC. I will be placing house calls with so many others. This past Monday, for instance, I was in Seattle, and we had a remarkably spirited discussion, not only with voting members, but with other spirited Democrats across the spectrum of the Democratic Party. That's what we need to continue to do. We need to make house calls. We need to listen to people. We need to get back to basics, and we need to move forward. Because I am confident, my friends, I am confident that when we lead with our values and lead with our actions, we succeed. That is what the Democratic Party has always been about, and that is what we will continue to be about. When we communicate our message of inclusion and opportunity for everyone, the big tent that we are, that is our strength, my friends. And when we have these conversations, sometimes spirited, sometimes difficult, that's not a sign of weakness, that's a sign of strength as a party, and that's what we will continue to do. Because as I've said, and as Keith has said, we're at this where were you moment in our nation's history. Someday, they're going to study this era in American history, and they're going to study it alongside the Know Nothing movement. And they're going to ask the question of all of us, where were you in 2017 when we had the worst president in the history of the United States? And we will all be able to say, whether you're sitting here, whether you're sitting outside, or whether you're looking on across America, we will all be able to say, the United Democratic Party led the resistance, ensured that this president was a one-term president, and elected Democrats across this country, from the school board to the Senate, to the state treasurers, to the state attorneys general, to state secretaries of state, to senators and governors, to District 6 in Georgia in April, to New Jersey and Virginia in November. And next year, we're going to have a market correction in all of these states like Maryland and elsewhere, where there's no business having a Democrat, having a Republican in the governor's race. That's what we're going to do. When we lead with our values, when we unite, as you say, that is what we do, and that is how we succeed. Dr. King said, you know, the road ahead will not always be smooth. There will still be inevitable setbacks and rocky places of frustration. And at times, our feet may grow weary, but we must walk on in the days ahead with an audacious faith in the future. I come to you, my friends, with an unrelenting optimism in our capacity to move forward, because I have had the privilege, and Keith has had the privilege, and all of us have had the privilege of getting to know you. I know we can win the battles ahead. I know we will win the battles ahead when we put our values forward, when we lead together, when we mobilize this grassroots energy, because January 20th was an undeniably important day, but January 21st and beyond was far more important for America. Millions of people stood up and said, Donald Trump, you do not stand for America. Donald Trump, we will not allow those values to divide America. And that is what we will do as a party, leading with our values, moving forward. That's how we will win. It is an unmitigated pleasure and privilege to take this gavel. And I recognize I have a lot of work to do. I recognize I have a lot of learning to do. And I would simply ask everyone across America, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, unaffiliated, another party, to simply listen to our message. Come with an open mind. Because you know what, folks? Our values of inclusion and opportunity, we have those shared values. And when we lead together, that is how we succeed. And I will be out there listening and learning a lot in the weeks ahead. And I want to say thank you to everybody in this room, regardless of who you supported, because you were supporting the values of the Democratic Party. That is our strength. Thank you very much. And I want to relinquish the chair back to someone that I want to end by asking you to give Donna Brazil a remarkable hand, because Donna Brazil came in during
All right, Tom Perez, the new chairman of the Democratic National Committee, wrapping up his remarks there in Atlanta. I want to bring Ryan Nobles back in. It's so fascinating, Ryan, because Tom Perez, though he was the winner, and you point out narrowly, besting Keith Ellison, who was really the pick of the liberal side of the party. He paid so much homage to Ellison. He, as you put it, kind of created a position for him as the deputy there on the spot. And then listen to this. It's a reaction from Bernie Sanders out just moments after Tom Perez won. I congratulate Tom Perez on his election as chairman of the Democratic National Committee and look forward to working with him. But listen to this part. It says, at a time when Republicans control the White House, the U.S. House, U.S. Senate, and 2/3 of all state houses, it is imperative that Tom understands that the same old same old is not working, and that we must open the doors of the party to working people and young people in a way that has never been done before. Now more than ever, the Democratic Party must make it clear that it is prepared to stand up to the 1% and lead this country forward in the fight for social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. I mean, if you read between the lines there, Ryan, and it seemed like Tom Perez understood this, ignore that liberal wing of the Democratic Party at your peril, right?
No, that's exactly right, Brianna. And you know, it's not. You could take it even a step further than that, because when you think about it, Bernie Sanders isn't even a Democrat. He ran for president as a Democrat, but he's always been an independent, and he represents this new strain in American politics where more and more Americans don't really identify themselves with a political party, and the power and influence of political parties is waning. I mean, look at the fact that Donald Trump is president of the United States. He's not a traditional Republican in any sense. So part of the job for Tom Perez here, in addition to kind of bringing together all these factions of the Democratic Party, is making the Democratic Party matter again, getting young people and millennials involved in the political process in a way that they identify themselves as Democrats, because it's so much more difficult to organize and bring people together, get them out to the polls when you are unified under one banner. But when you have kind of everybody out there coming from different perspectives and from different ideas, it's a lot more difficult to kind of channel that energy behind one candidate. So that's another thing that Tom Perez is going to have to concern himself with. But, you know, there's no question that if they don't find a way to reach out to this progressive wing of the party, it could turn out to be trouble for them in these elections that they have going forward.
Yeah, he had so many overtures. He said, I recognize I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of learning to do. And it sounds like he's going to be going on a bit of a listening tour by phone with a lot of DNC members. Ryan, can he succeed? That's the question. We will see. Ryan Nobles in Atlanta, thank you so much. And we will be right back with more news.